Welcome to your Certified Neurodivergence Life Coach program. Congratulations on making a commitment to your own future, your own career as a helper and a facilitator, and also to making a commitment to the up to 1/5, potentially even more, of people who are not neurotypical. One of the first things that I do want to bring your attention to is the formal definition of neurodivergence. Now, let's just go to the popular press. This was medically reviewed. This is from Forbes. For the average individual, brain functions, behaviors, and processing are expected to meet the milestones set by a society for developmental growth. And society can be defined in a lot of ways, but for those who veer either slightly or significantly outside of these parameters, their brain functions, and we can even say bodily functions now, could be classified as neurodivergent. Neurodivergent is a non-medical, that's important, umbrella term that describes people with variation in their mental, also physical, also social, also emotional, also information processing functions, also sensory, and can include conditions such as autism spectrum disorder or other neurological or developmental conditions such as attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. And here I will also add trauma, which is important for the next slide. A 2020 British Medical Bulletin study estimated that far higher than earlier estimates, between 15 and 20% of the global population is likely to be neurodivergent. Please keep in mind that this was published in 2020, and that was before the entire globe sustained a collective trauma. And grief is absolutely a trauma, and a global pandemic absolutely does qualify as the kind of trauma that can introduce emotional reactivity of the sort that would qualify, according to some psychologists, as neurodivergence level trauma. And why do I say that? Because the definition of neurodivergence means the neurotype, the way the basic neurological system is set up and how it functions, is divergent from what we used to call the norm or the majority. It differs or departs from the norm or the mean. And at this point, the norm or the mean is defined by the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Psychiatric Disorders. It's no longer how the whole world is. It's a golden ideal at this point. So who or what is a CNDLC? A certified neurodivergence life coach is someone who is comprehensively educated and up to the minute about the emerging research in neurodivergence. And that's both forms, the kind that people are born with and the kind that's acquired later, either through illness or through physical acquisition. And they're also trained in effective methods of mentoring or guiding or coaching adults who have neurodivergent bodies and minds. So throughout the 8 modules of this course, you will learn to appropriately support adults with neurodivergent bodies and minds. You will learn to motivate them. You will learn to help them clarify, align, and integrate their own core values so that they will be able to transform and sustain change in a self-directed and authentic, personally rewarding way, so that they can take control of their own lives within their own capacity, using an integrative approach that unites their body, their mind, their emotions, their relationships, and that ineffable thing that we call the transcendent spirit, the thing that keeps us alive, the soul. There are any number of models and potential conditions that can be included within the larger umbrella of neurodivergence. This is just one of them, and it's an older one, but did want to show you that historically, even back when we called ADHD ADD, and when we called one of the parts of autism spectrum disorder Asperger's syndrome, we were grouping together some neurodivergent conditions and noticing that they overlapped. This is a much larger, much less interrelated neurodivergent umbrella graphic that shows you some of the other conditions from symptomatic to even personality disorders that can be considered parts of neurodivergence. Any and all of these traits in combination or alone can affect how people relate with others, how they perform in a workplace, how they learn, how they change, how they don't, how they adapt to the world. Especially with advancements in functional MRI technology and other things, including advancements in artificial intelligence's ability to crunch data in ways it never has been able to before, we are now learning that neurodivergent bodies and brains are completely different from neurotypical or allistic bodies and brains. And in fact, we are starting to discover that connective tissue and specifically defects in connective tissue throughout the entire body, from body to gut to ligaments and joints, may be one of the factors that have not yet been fully considered in some of the inherited forms of neurodivergence, and potentially even in some of the post-viral forms of neurodivergence. One thing that we do know now is that nobody outgrows a childhood form of neurodivergence. What some people do have is a high enough intellectual or intelligence ability level to be able to learn to mask so that they can fit in socially, at least for a while. And then they enter a world that was not designed for them. And the energy that they have poured into masking to fit in when they were in a highly structured school environment needs to be poured into other things like schedules and going to classes and staying fed, and things start to fall apart because they don't leave their neurotype behind them when they go to a new environment. And if they had a neurodivergence of a type that didn't get identified earlier in life, or if their diagnosis was hidden, which does happen to people, or if they are just now identifying themselves at a later age because there are several generations that were missed in diagnoses, the sequelae can be even more severe. From executive functioning to exhaustion to meltdowns to burnout to what used to be called nervous breakdowns. The challenges can become enormous. And it all begins with masking, trying to become who a neurodivergent person is not to fit in. It's emotionally exhausting. It never works. The key to being a healthy, functional, happy, thriving, contributing, productive member of this beautiful society we are all a part of for a neurodivergent person is being an authentic part of that society. And that finally brings us back to you, the CNDLC. When you graduate from this program, you will be qualified and competent in building on a neurodivergent person's autonomy, personal interests, strengths, values, and intrinsic motivators. You will be able to create an individualized, tailored, personalized pathway to a rewarding, balanced, integrated, healthy, authentic life. You will be able to help your client navigate their life skills, goals, benchmarks, transitions, and achievements. You will be skilled in reinforcing incremental steady progress and in finding small wins to celebrate everywhere. And you will be skilled in creating unique personal scaffolding for fulfilling neurodivergent life journeys based on your client's values, motivators, abilities, supports, energy, and drive. I'm Denise Montgomery. I myself discovered finally, through a formal diagnosis at age 54, that I have lived a scattershot ADHD autistic life. And I am living my best life, having finally stripped back all of my mask layers one by one, starting when I joined forces with the Natural Wellness Academy as its first student of the Spiritual Wellness Program in 2019 on New Year's Eve. Welcome to the program, and I look forward to mentoring you.